That's right. Not like last week, Sam, when you were using bad words right before we came on.
I never use bad words now. Come on, don't curse. Don't do that.
We were like that. Well, use a
Well, bad words for Sam. Like, well, bad words for Sam, bad words for us.
Use a term that was borderline. Let's say that.
I got you.
All right, we're here on Talking Preps. We're about to get started. We're waiting on the contrarian Alex Bass to log in, and he's texting me right now. So
he's got to get.
Chris is going to be here. Everybody's going to be here tonight. We got a full house. We have a really fun show. Everybody's ready to go. If you guys have comments tonight, I'm going to turn the comments on. I think. I'm going to turn the comments on so you guys can comment if you want to comment. I think they should work tonight. Last week they weren't working, but hopefully they'll work tonight. So let's hit the button and let's get started. Let me find the button. All right, we're here. It's Talking Preps. How's everybody doing?
Great. Real good.
Y'all sound real excited.
Ready to go.
All right, ready to go. All right, we're going to go to, let me look at where we're supposed to be on rapid fire, so we're going to get to it. Gary, Steve Wilks was hired by the Panthers yesterday. Biggest news in the state, really. West Charlotte graduate. He's the fourth black coach in the NFL right now. How big a deal is that, and what can he do to get a year two?
It's a huge deal simply because there are three things that the NFL owners tend to be reluctant to hire. Okay, one is an African American. Two is anybody from the defensive side of the ball, which he's a part of. And three, someone who doesn't come from the tree of these young offensive gurus. And, Steve is kind of a lot older than most candidates for a job right now. I wouldn't say a lot older, but he's in his early 50s. Mm-hmm. And so for him to get this opportunity is unique in itself, but good jobs don't come open, especially for African Americans on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Todd Bowles lucked out with Tampa Bay, and Bruce Arians set it up that way.
Yeah,
but it's very rare that somebody gets a second opportunity from the defensive side of the ball that happens to be African American nowadays. The odds are stacked against him.
Yes,
we know that the Panthers are very, very suspect at quarterback, and the quarterbacks, they got a room full of boots. They got three quarterbacks in a boot.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be hard.
You know what? The kid they drafted, Matt Corral, they thought could be the future of the franchise. I mean, it's unfortunate he hasn't Liz Frank because he would really have like 12 weeks to kind of as a test run to prove himself.
No doubt.
In the NFL, so that's a huge loss. But Gary, how'd you meet Coach Wilks? I thought that was an interesting story you were talking about that.
Well, the first time I ever saw him, of course, is when he was a high school player at West Charlotte.
Right.
Then we went to the same barbershop. But the way I got to know him is he's a chapter brother of my best friend in our fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. They both played at App. We're in the chapter up there, and I'd met him a couple of times. But during the pandemic, one Saturday, I invited my best friend over. We would sit out back around the fire pit and watch football. And he said, well, Steve's in town. Is it all right if I bring him over? I was like, sure. And so Steve came over to the house, and we sat out back all afternoon one Saturday from about 1 o'clock to almost 6 o'clock, watching football, talking West Charlotte, talking about, the differences between college coaching and pro coaching and, some of the things he had gone through throughout his career, how he moved up, and and we also talked about things unrelated to football. And the day just went by. I called Jupiter Wilson, who doesn't live far from me, and he came over, and he talked football with Jupiter, and we just hit it off real well. And before you know it, his phone was ringing, and it was his wife on the phone, and he's just like the rest of us. His wife had left him a honey-do list on a Saturday, and he had forgotten all about it.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh man, I gotta go. My wife, she just called and asked me had I done so and so, and I hadn't done it yet, so I gotta get back home." But real great guy, down to earth. Sam will tell you, he loves West Charlotte. I mean, he was.
Well, is that true, Sam? Does he love West Charlotte, Sam? Is that true?
He loves West Charlotte so much he dropped a check to help us get uniforms the first year I was there. His shoe game is unreal too. He got a little swag to him. I'm gonna let you know that now. His shoe game is nice. He's always got a fresh shape up. Gary's shape up went south a little bit, but his stayed true from the same barbershop.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a guy it's a stand-up guy. The first time I ever met him was in 2017 in a brunch, and his wife was talking and he was talking, and he just did an amazing job of communicating just life skills. And I tell you what, he is diehard West Charlotte. Even this year, he came through and sat in my office for about an hour and a half before the Mount Creek game, and we talked just, not just football, but just life itself. And this is before he knew he was going to get the head job for the Panthers. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is not the way he wanted to get it. He was all for the regime that's there because he's been on the other side of that coin. And I think he'll do a great job. I think you're going to see a man that was given an opportunity by God, and I think he's going to make the most of it. And you're going to see something great. I know that he has a tough hand with no quarterback or whatnot, but I think that he's going to do a great, great job. And you're going to see the Panthers turning around. I really believe that.
Real quick, Sam, 30 seconds. How much pride was there at school today? Were the kids kind of really excited that, somebody that graduated from that place was, in the most important sports job in town?
I think the majority of the student base didn't necessarily know, but I think that the football team knew really well. That news came and talked to a few of our kids, and they knew exactly who he was because he was on our sidelines for the Mallard Creek game, interacting with the kids. I mean, he is a stand-up West Charlotte grad, and he represents it to the fullest. I mean, he's what you want to be. That's why I want to retire West Charlotte, to see the pride that he has. I want to be a part of that. I'm like jealous that he has so much pride for his high school, and I think it's honorable. Absolutely.
Chris, in Virginia this past weekend, the team was up 91-0 at halftime. They won 112-16. We talked on the show last week about the situation in Raleigh where the coach was mad because his team, they only lost 49-7, I think it was. But he thought the coach would run up the score. They didn't want to shake hands. What do you make of this 112 points? What do you make of it? Is that running up the score?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've been on both sides of a blowout as a coach. I've been on the good side, and I've certainly been on the bad side. I think that there's certainly an etiquette to blowing out a team as a coach, but I also think that there is an etiquette in being blown out as a coach. If you're getting beat that bad, you need to just run the ball, milk the clock, shorten the game to the best of your ability. And likewise, if you're winning a game like that, you need to try your best not to embarrass that team. But on the other side, I've seen some players get career games who maybe would have never seen the field. I'm not going to tell a kid not to run hard. I'm not going to tell a kid who maybe has never scored a touchdown never to try to score in a situation like that, because you want those guys who's possibly seeing the field for the first time ever to do what they can do to shine. But with that being said, I don't think – maybe it's running up the clock, but again, was this a conference game? Was this a non-conference game? Yeah, I don't know. Why was it put together? I was a part in seeing a 97-0 game up close, and it was quite a spectacle to be seen. And I still put much of the blame on the losing coach as much as I did the winning coach.
Yeah. So what was it? 91-0 at halftime.
91-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
112-16 is the final.
So you're going to know this is happening early in the first quarter. And sometime in the first quarter, you need to start bringing in those kids that never play. I think you keep playing but you play with your lesser players and give them opportunity. You can't ever tell anyone not to play and not to try to get a first down or get a touchdown or whatever. But you should give those kids that are not getting that opportunity, give them that time now. I'm not a big fan of running clocks and laying down and giving things up. I don't like running. I don't like running scores up on teams. I would prefer to just give an opportunity. And quite honestly, you probably knew going into this game you were going to blow them out anyway. So maybe you raise up some JVs for this game and play as well and give them an opportunity to play. I think there's lots of things you could do that might have lowered the score a little bit and given more kids an opportunity to get on the field.
Yeah, I agree with what Dale and Chris said. I think it's important to look at the fact that as the coach for the winning team trying to run up the score, are they continuing to pass when the score might be a 3, 4, 5 touchdown game, or are they running and not? It's clear that they're not trying to continue to score, putting in guys that may not see the field often, that kind of thing. I think is where the line is drawn between running the score up and just it being a blowout game.
Yeah. Grace. North Carolina goes to a running clock in the second half when there's a 42-point differential. But that also, as Dale alluded to, limits the reps that some of your young guys might get during that situation. Do you think North Carolina should punt on a mercy rule?
Oh, absolutely not. I think the situation, especially in North Carolina, teams that have been good for a while. Teams that have not, I think, early in the year, you have a great indicator, within these conferences, at least here in the Queen City for sure, of those teams that are that much better than the opposing team. So, in those games, of course, you may not, the time you may normally spend, dealing with strategy and ensuring that you're able to, hit a team where it hurts. That you're out athleting teams are doing better than some of these guys. Then, it might be worth it to get a plan together to make sure your guys get the reps. I mean, we've seen a lot of these games, even this year. I could probably count 6, 7 on one hand this year, where you saw in the first half teams had already reached that mercy rule, and people know, hey, even if it's 35-0, knowing that one more touchdown gets it in the running clock, that other team can't come back. I mean, unless you're trying to put this in, you're making a show for the papers, get those guys in, get those reps, and start doing everything that you can to be successful. If we're in conference, we're in conference. All conference numbers are dictated on this. You look at different things that may look at it for guys. Guys may be getting the opportunity to go play at the next level. So I'm going to do what I can to put a guy in position. We had a second-string quarterback, to give him some confidence. We still threw the ball in the game for us when we were up. I mean, it wasn't to make light of it. It was a play that we had ran previous, and the defense just didn't react to it the way that was beneficial for them. So my thing is if you know that this is a situation where guys are going to have the chance to get in the game, cycle them through, get your starters out, because nothing great happens in the running clock outside of penalties, injuries, and fights.
Yeah, kind of like what Grice said. I remember a situation involving West Charlotte and when Coach Knox was there, and they had a reputation of really pouring it on teams at one point. And they did that, and one of their best players got hurt for the season. And they didn't have him the following week in the playoffs. I can't remember the player's name or the game, but ever since that situation had happened, I was always conscientious about playing starters in the second half of games that would already won, because that's what can happen is you lose somebody important because you're trying to prove a point. And, once the game is secure, get them out.
Cameron.
Oh, you want me to jump in here too?
Yeah, you said you wanted to jump in.
Well, I put, no, that I didn't think, they should get rid of the mercy rule, because, I mean, I speak from a reporter's standpoint, how, I guess, drawn out would that be to sit there, win a 45-52-0 game, and the clock's not running, especially if a team's trying to run the score up, if there's bad blood between the coaches or whatever the situation may be. And, I mean, you can be there all night.
The one thing that I think you need to look at, there's so much RPO. So, this is one thing we got to look at as coaches, or be able to teach this aspect, is say you're up 42-0 or something like that, and there's a running clock going. And it's late in the third quarter, you're driving, and you keep whipping that, hash to hash throw on an RPO, you should basically tell them it's not an RPO anymore. It's a run option only instead of a run pass option. I think that could be the only way where a coach looks like he's calling a pass play, even though he's not calling a pass play there to try to run it up. It's just the quarterback's making the read he's been doing all week. It's something you might need to go through. Hey, this series, we're calling this play. It might be an RPO. Keep handing it off, even if you see that Sam linebacker stepping up or what case, keep the ball running. That could be the only thing can get dicey between.
Sam, would you get mad though if my second string quarterback was getting a little rep throwing the ball and we were up big on?
No, I'm talking about more first string type guys.
If I'm up big on you in the second half, my second string guys throwing the ball, getting some reps, would you get mad?
No, I got no problems. I mean, the only time I would see something if it's some type of like design reverse pass type deal. Because I've seen it on both ends. Like your kids are fighting and clawing. Like say there's a team that's totally, outmatched in a way. Mm-hmm. And you can't even compete with the team. You're talking about kids that start – you still have to ride the bus back home with those guys. Don't matter if you're fighting or not, you're trying to stay into the game. You just can't. And what you do is you start depressing people where they don't even want to play no more. You see what I'm saying?
Would you get mad if I ran a hitch and go on you on the second to last play of the game?
Yes, a hitch and go, and you were up 42-0. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say nothing because I feel like we got to guard anything. I'm a defensive-minded type person, but
Sam, I'm Ahmed, baby.
Sam, not swag. Sam, you're not swag.
Sam, Ahmed.
He didn't get what I was talking about. Tim Pride, I don't know what Norris means, so you got to expand on that for me. Chris, statistics show that less than 7% of all high school athletes are going to play in college, and only about 2% are going to play football in Division I. How do we help the rest of these athletes transition in life after football? Because we saw during COVID, when football was taken away, a lot of them have problems with depression. For a lot of them, that comes every senior year.
Yeah, that's a tough question right there because, again, I've been dealing with high school athletics as a coach, as a media member for a long time, and you see all these great guys who, we lovingly look back on and say, man, they had a great career. They were a great high school player. They may not have gone to college, but, they gave it their all for their town, their community, their school. And you want to appreciate and memorialize their careers for things like that. But, putting on those pads for the last time, these players just have to understand that only a small, minute few are going to have that opportunity to move on to the next level. And of course, contrary to what some of the recruit services out there try to lead parents to believe that you've got a chance to go play here and there and everywhere, which all of us really know just ain't the case. These guys are ultimately going to play their final game and their final home game and their final playoff game. And it's hard. I've seen that. I've had to comfort those kids. I've had to, see those kids firsthand. And it's a hard walk back up to the locker rooms after a final game. I don't really know what the answer is, but I just know that it is just a tough deal that ultimately is just not fun for the kids, the parents, the coaches. But, hopefully, and I've seen this happen a lot to me, and I know Gary and some of the guys and Grice have probably seen this. You start to see late in some of these kids' careers almost become coaches on the field in their positions, and you kind of see the light flicker in them, and you see some of those guys come back and help a team out maybe while they're in college or ultimately get back into coaching. And I think maybe that's their way of prolonging their being a part of the sport.
Alex. You're on, sir. It's live TV.
Yes. Can you see me on screen? My screen is blank.
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, got you. Okay. What we're seeing here is the reality of why the 2.0 semester GPA eligibility rule, for which Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools should be lauded and applauded time and time again, should be in place. Praise be Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools for its exemplary leadership and visionary planning in support of the efficacy of education-based. After all of you who claim that I'm not a Charlotte-Mecklenburg fan, there you go right there. So what this means...
I was wondering what that was about, by the way.
So what this means in this situation is it's not a matter of helping high school athletes transition to life after football. That's an ongoing detail. That's part of the education-based athletics process. day in and day out. It's not an end game when you get to your last game. That's part of the formation. That's why it's so important that if you can't meet that 2.0 requirement per semester, you should not be playing. There are other things that have to be put in place to put you in a position to be successful as a school or a student athlete. So how can how can we help high school athletes transition to life after football? It is an ongoing formational endeavor that begins with asserting and reaffirming time and time again that the student precedes the athlete. That's why Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools 2.0 semester rule should be a norm in all LEAs because of what it does to support that. It's not just a one-shot deal at the end. It's an ongoing formational process.
Formational process. All right, Tim Pryor got back to me. He said West Charlotte was up big when Venturi Bam Norris scored a touchdown, hurt his knee right before the playoffs. I guess they were in the game and they didn't necessarily need that. So,
yeah, I knew it was somebody from West Charlotte. I remember that.
So it goes, they had a lot of games where they're big on people. And sometimes Tommy would turn the faucet off sometimes, but that could be happening. Alex, 2 weeks ago, Gracie Smith from Asheville became the first girls football player to ever play there. Providence Day kicker Sydney McCorkle was the first girls football player to ever play in a private school game, and she was the first, obviously, to score points in the game. She actually got a scholarship to Sewanee a couple weeks ago. You think this is going to continue, and do you like to see it?
If you ball, you will get the call, said Jonathan Grice. Next question.
What do you think, Dale?
Just like I said,
hold on.
Let's let that happen.
I was putting her highlight up there. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, just like I told one of our coaches here when we were off camera that you're going to lose to a female kicker one day. Yeah. And it's going to be a field goal, not just a PAT.
Now, this is great.
I think if you can play at any position on the field and you want to and you're willing to, then they should be out there. And I believe that girl kickers we'll see more of them.
Yeah,
in high school.
I tend to agree with you. I think that is definitely going to be happening. The more and Sydney McCorkle was actually making 50-yarders at Furman Camp.
Right.
So I mean, she's really good, and I like to see it. I like to see it. All right, it's time to. I was going to go to Grice's Gyms, but I see my man Will Ross is here from South Point. So Sam, are you ready to face this young?
Switching it up on Sam. Had to move him earlier.
We're gonna go a little early.
What position you play?
I play safety.
Oh gosh, the leader of the defense too, making all the calls on the back. What do you guys run on defense predominantly?
We run a 4-3.
4-3. You run cover 2 behind it. You run cover 3. You mix it up a bunch.
Mix.
You ain't gonna give me no. I mean, we might see in the playoffs.
I gotta go to the playoffs, man.
I mean, I'm trying to get a little something from him, man. You know, a little hint. What do you call your cover 2?
I mean, I don't want to tell you everything.
We're just a little brotherly love right now, okay?
I mean, I'll tell you after the season, or you can find out every play. Or we can find out.
What's it start with? What letters does it start with? You have a code name for it?
We always have a code name.
Hey, Sam, you trying to get out of my man's business?
I
know you guys lost last week to Kings Mountain, and I know it was a really good game. You had 14 tackles, I think it was, and you got 58 for the season. You guys off to a great start. Talk about the season so far, and I know you want to get another shot at Kings Mountain, but talk about the season and tell me about that game specifically.
I feel like our season is doing pretty good right now. I mean, our team is kind of focused this week just because of the game last week, but overall, just coming out and being as a team and coming out 6-0, I felt like that was a pretty good little, it's like to set the tone a little bit. But then we got humbled really quick last week, so I felt like we deserved that, you know?
Yeah. What do you think you guys have to do? Because you probably got to play Kings Mountain to get, to go all the way. They look like a really strong team. What do you think you guys are going to have to do to get to a regional championship game?
Really just kind of work together and not always have the word I in our sentences. We need to like start playing with we more, because during this game it was a lot of I's and there was not a lot of we's.
Was it good to face a little adversity though, so you can get that out of your system? So I mean, because sometimes when you're winning every week, you can get a little bit of little ahead of yourself.
Absolutely, it was pretty good to face that a little bit, and we came back a little soft, and now this week we're a little bit more prepared.
Yeah, you got a big game against Ashbrook coming up. Sam, what do you see in this guy's highlights? I wanted you to look a little bit before I ask you.
This past game, this is a lot of the Kings Mountain game right here, it looks like.
Yeah,
I mean, he's making a lot of tackles. The only bad thing I say, if you're a deep player, there's one rule. If he had 14 tackles, they probably lost the game. He's probably hoping in a game like this he doesn't make that many tackles, because that means the guys in front of him are making more tackles in the box. He's really good. He has great eye control. You can tell he can run sideline to sideline. That's why he's playing. Like that right there is a great play. He's got a great act for it, got a chiseled jaw. Looks like he can stick his head in there and make a good hit. Doesn't get beat over the top. He's just back. His first step is back. He's reading his threats, and he's doing returns. So he's actually one of the better athletes on the team. You can definitely tell he's probably, if not the fastest guy on their team.
Would you say that, Will? You want the fastest on the team?
Probably the fastest.
Probably the fastest.
Yeah. See, like right there, they're running the alley. It's really good. I mean, he could have thrown. I ain't gonna lie, he could have thrown his shoulder in there a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? He had a bow up. He could have blown up right there. Like you going to bow up right now on this game show, brother.
Yeah. Now he coaches at West Charlotte. There's a chance you guys could be playing each other. That's why he's trying to get all your secrets. He might play in the playoffs. He's trying to get your secrets to what you guys are doing. How big a deal is this game against Ashbrook? How big a game is that Belmont against Gastonia?
I feel like everybody likes to have a little rival going on with us, but really it's never a rival when you blow them out every single time. Really, our rivals are probably just Crest. Crest is probably our biggest rival. But, School Hammer, everybody says that's a rival, but, 44-13 or something like that. And people are saying that about Ashbrook too, so we just got to show everybody else that,
did you grow up in this rivalry? Did you grow up in this rivalry? Is it new to you?
The Crest one or
the Crest one?
I grew up in it. Like my freshman year, it was always Crest.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Crest and Forest View. Crest and Forest View.
All right. Cool.
Hey,
all right.
How come you don't run the rock for your team?
Our coaches don't like running both ways. I've been put back there a little bit. I go on there and team 2-minute, so I'll come back.
You're a 2-minute guy. Mm-hmm. See, I got a little advice right there. You see that? You see how I slivered that in right there? That's nice.
Come to playoffs, they might turn him loose. They're trying not to get him hurt. And if you run against you in the playoffs, you might not like
They'll see it on film anyway.
Yeah.
Well, right.
Now when you come on the show and you talk about your team and yourself, that's all fine and good. But you got to take on Coach Griner on what we call the game show. It's a multiple choice thing. The question will come up on the screen. You'll answer the first question. He'll answer the second. We'll go back and forth. There's 5 questions. I only ask one thing of you, though, sir. You must beat him.
Okay.
He's been sliding by with these ties and stuff lately, so you must beat him. He must. I think you're a losing record overall this season, by the way, Sam.
I've lost one time. I've lost one week.
But you got like all ties and 1 loss, I think.
No, I don't. I got 3 wins, 2 ties, 1 loss.
I don't remember 3 wins. I don't. Chelsea, you remember Sam winning 3 times?
No.
Okay. All right. I can't wait to that DM.
I remember a whole lot of ties.
I remember a whole lot of ties. That's what I remember. All right. I got to play his little theme music. So on the backside of his theme music, we'll get started with.
Brother, I'm not MJ, just Coach Griner, but I'm the GOAT of the game show.
All right, Alex Bass, here we go.
Matt Rule was fired as Panthers head coach Monday. Several members of the current team played for him in college. One of those is listed here. Who is he? A, Christian McCaffrey. B, Brian Burns. C, Robbie Anderson. D, Shi Smith.
All right, Will, let's get off to a good start. What you got?
I'm going to say Robbie Anderson.
Robbie Anderson. What you got, Samuel?
I'm going to go B, Brian Burns.
Ooh, you in the hole, Sam. You are in the hole. My man Will.
Robbie Anderson is extremely old. How did he play for
Represent? You played for him in Temple. Representing.
Oh, Temple. I was thinking about Baylor. Golly.
Representing.
It's not good. You knew that? You knew that?
That was a guess.
That's all right. Guesses work. Belmont.
They work. Yeah. Unbelievable.
I love it. All right, Chelsea is up.
In 1986, new Panthers coach Steve Wilks led West Charlotte to the 4A state championship game. The number one song that year raised money to fight a terrible disease. What was the name of the song? A, That's What Friends Are For. B, Say You, Say Me. C, Alive and Kicking. Or D, Human.
It's on you, Sam.
Yeah.
It's live TV.
I know. Can I think for a second? I'm in the hole here.
Man,
I'm gonna say C, Alive and Kicking.
Alive and Kicking. What you got, Will?
I'm gonna say D.
D, Human. The answer is A, That's What Friends Are For. Dionne Warwick and Friends. The song was raised for AIDS. So Sam is still in the hole, 1-0. I was trying to give you something you might have a shot at that he wouldn't know because he's.
I don't know. Look, you go Christian music, I'm on it, brother. That's it. I've told you that in the past. You don't never go that anymore.
I did go Christian music. I went Christian music like
one time out of daggone 40 shows.
When Pat Man was on here, we went Christian music.
And I knocked it out. Beat Pat.
I
beat him.
You did. Although you flirted with disaster. Alex, go ahead.
In 2016, South Point won the North Carolina 3A state title. Who did the Red Raiders beat 16-7 in the championship game? A, Havelock, B, Jacksonville, C, Rocky Mount, D, Southern Nash.
All right, Will, you said you grew up in it.
I'm going to say Southern Nash.
Southern Nash. Samuel.
Yeah, I'm going to say D as well.
The answer is C, Rocky Mount. Rocky Mount had beaten South Point in the year prior. I think it was 24-21 maybe in overtime. And then they came back to beat them.
Yeah.
I saw both of those games. All right, so Sam is still in the hole. And
I don't think I got a question right in a while now. Let's go.
No,
it's getting too hard now. You're making it too difficult.
Let's go, Chelsea.
Which female artist has the most top 10 hits of all time? A, Janet Jackson. B, Madonna. C, Taylor Swift. Or D, Rihanna.
Samuel.
You're going like pop culture. I'm gonna go C, Taylor Swift. I don't have a Taylor Swift.
C, Taylor Swift. All right. Will, what you got?
I'm gonna say D, Rihanna.
D, Rihanna. The answer is Madonna.
No.
I'm living in the material world.
No, I had that one right. That was easy. Come on.
So Sam, the best you can do, Sam, is another tie. Will, you're going first on this last question, and you can knock him out cold. You like country music, Will?
A little bit.
A little bit. Uh-oh.
What is up with the music questions all of a sudden?
Let's go, Alex. Leanne came up with these. Let's go, Alex.
I don't have a clue.
His song, You Poof, has been #1 on the country charts for 2 weeks. Who is he? A, Morgan Wallen. B, Luke Combs. C, Zach Bryan. D, Cole Swindell.
It's on you, Will.
I'm going to say Morgan Wallen.
Morgan Wallen. Samuel, what you got?
I'm going to go D.
It's too bad. The answer is A. You lose.
I couldn't. Even if I guessed right with him, I couldn't win. I didn't get one question.
Let it go. You lost.
Oh yeah, straight L. I can't even. I had to get him
next
back
week,
in the playoffs.
Chelsea, when he starts talking about he had all these ties, just remind him that he lost this week.
Mm-hmm.
He went down.
Down now from ties.
How many music questions did you give? Who's giving these questions?
Leanne was doing it. I'll do the questions next week.
I mean, my God, I don't know music outside of Christian music.
I'll do the questions. I'll do the questions next week.
Hey, brother, I'll correct that. I'll correct that L in the playoff.
That dog, Sam teammates is dogging him. They're shaking his head. But Will, good luck, man, against Ashbrook. Hopefully, we'll see you in the playoffs later on this year, right?
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Man. Take care of yourself,
man.
He ran it up on you, Sam.
Hey, mercy rule for Sam. Goodness.
Yes, he did.
I can't. I wanted to guess.
Sam, how did I get the country music question right in the back? Sam, how? I got it right in the back and you didn't. I don't want to hear it.
Let me explain something to you, Grice. Okay. If I guess the same answer with him, I automatically lose. I
don't care. That was a finisher. That was like the finishing move. Country music question. He finished you, Sam. I'm sorry.
So you got one. If you got one question, if you're down in the hole one, okay, and you
Sam,
guess
you
the
ain't
same
Sam.
answer, you're basically
You got to finish with some honor and respect, Sam. You got to finish with
Honor and respect. I'm here to win.
Sam's getting a little heated at his lack of success in the game show. Randall told me that he wants to play you in the game show, so we do the basketball, football.
Can we do like this? I'm a coach. Can we do more sports questions? Like I can live with that. Like we're going like
Robbie Anderson.
I know it. I can
you're
live
my
with
guy,
that.
Sam. You know you're my
you got
guy.
the sports
I
question
can live with that. I can live with that.
A high school sports question.
I gave you two sports questions. You got them both wrong.
Griner, who do y'all play this week? Maybe your mind's elsewhere this week. Who you got?
Yeah, Open University.
That's no excuse. You got Open University this week.
Well, this week, Chris and Grice picked their players of the week, but we asked Mom to come on this week, and so Mom was very talkative. So we're gonna show this to you in two parts. So here's the first part. Here's the first 4 North Carolina players of the week.
What is this, week 9 or is this week 10? This is week 9.
I was on a bye week. I think
this week going into week 9.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, my man, Coach Grice. Here we are going into week number 9 of the 2022 high school football season. It's hard to believe that this season has flown by so fast, but here we are, almost playoff time, and we have got some insane Grice's gems. They got the phone call this week, so let's go right to it. Right there at Central Cabarrus, we highlighted this young man a week ago, Adriel Miller. He continues to be on fire. 11 catches, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 36-24 victory over East Rowan. Coach Grice, we know a lot about this guy, but he keeps putting on a show.
Hey, back-to-back gym, one of the first I think we've had this year. Again, Adriel Miller these last couple of weeks has been putting together a season's worth of great yards so far. I mean, we're glad to highlight him again. I think, the direct reason of Coach Bevilacqua's winning streak here has got to be attributed to Adriel Miller. Again, great performance again with him. A guy you got to watch out for. You see some of the creative ways that they use them. They were successful again. Look forward to them continuing to have a big end of this year.
And I know he plays in Cabarrus County, but they may need to consider him for Rowan County Athlete of the Year, the way he's burned up them Rowan County teams.
Yes, sir. You know it.
All right, let's stay here in the South Piedmont region. Concord High School, Keon Phillips had it in a 54-19 victory again over, unfortunately, my South Rowan Raiders. Phillips accounted for 6 total touchdowns, completed 6 of 8 passes for 92 yards, 3 scores, ran a 13 times for 127 yards, and 3 more scores. Coach, he really put on a clinic against those Raiders.
He did. Actually, the Raiders were up. They spotted him 13 points. This was a tight ball game in the first half, and it completely blew open in the second half. And Keon Phillips was the specific reason why. Again, accounting for those 6 total touchdowns. Got the ball in the air some, but we know the ball in his hands was the place that head coach Darren Shepard wanted that ball to be against your South Rowan team there. Again, it was going to be tough, but I think that they were able to blow this game open with his great performance.
Let's head all the way up to Western North Carolina. Asheville Christian, Javier Rice in a 49-41 loss to McCormick out of South Carolina, by the way. Rice was 33 of 53 for 543 yards and 6 touchdowns. Again, I don't care what level of football it is. You put up those kind of numbers. That is like Tecmo Bowl, Madden-type numbers. That's a big-time night, Coach Grice.
That's a big-time night. And, again, it was in a losing effort, but we understand that he gave everything he had to try to get his team this victory. I tell you all the time, it's a lot of fun football, a lot of balls going through the air in Western North Carolina. Asheville Christian, again, is another great example. Javier with the high efficiency. That's a lot of volume, 53 passes in this game. And then we're seeing with the 543, had a lot of big-time yards. We're seeing here, again, some great throws, movement in the pocket, able to get out of the pocket and find an open receiver. I mean, I think that's great movement and great pocket awareness there. Again, they were unable to secure the victory, but I had to highlight one of the best performances I think we've seen this year in a losing effort in Javier Rice.
Hey, let's head up to the 336, and a team that has really kind of turned it up this year, I think, that has done a great job, and that's Northwest Guilford High School. Trenton Cloud and a big 52-20 victory over Northern Guilford. Cloud caught 5 passes for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Northwest has won 5 of 6 games. Cloud has nearly 700 yards receiving, 8 touchdowns. Quarterback Tanner Ballou has thrown 1,561 yards and 21 touchdowns. Again, Coach Kevin Wallace has that Northwest team really looking good.
Oh, Coach Kevin Wallace, hit me up personally and said he thinks he has the best 2024 QB receiver duo in the state. It is hard to argue that whenever I look at this performance from Trenton Cloud. Again, he's been doing it big. We know we've highlighted Tanner in the past before. This was a big-time performance, and I think we're going to see a lot more of this as we get to the late conference and playoff stage for these guys. Trenton Cloud's a name you need to know, pay attention to, because he had to get the call this week with that great performance.
All right, well, that's part one, and now we got to go to part two. We asked the mother of the biggest gracious gym, person who gets the call to come on. This was a bunch of fun, so you guys enjoy this.
We got another man on the screen right here that also got to call. Let's talk about West Lincoln High School. Mason Avery in a 35-26 victory over Newton Conover. Avery ran 35 times for a school record 397 yards, 2 touchdowns. Avery's performance is the 41st best ever public school performance in the state of North Carolina. And on defense, by the way, he also had 11 tackles, 2 for a loss. Avery, we appreciate you. Mason, appreciate you getting on here with us. Big time performance. You certainly get to call.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Definitely, Mason. So we got to talk about it. In my generation and Guru's generation, two-way players were common. I mean, growing up, we all had an offensive and defensive position. These days, in the era of specialization, it's kind of become rare. Can you talk about the additional legwork, the additional things that you do to get yourself ready to play on the offensive and defensive side of the ball each week?
Oh, well, coming from small 2A, West Lincoln, most of our players are actually having to play both ways, and so our head coach knows that. So as soon as spring starts, we're getting conditioning as well as lifting, because he knows he's going to have to prepare us even more because we're having to play the whole game.
Oh, I understand that completely. Going into this game, clearly we all understand, and this isn't the first time we've seen you put up big numbers. We know, and they know, of course, that you're the guy to stop. So going into this game, could you talk about some, the game plan and just, what it was going to be that you saw that would give you guys the advantage over Newton Conover's defense?
Oh, well, let's see. Well, they had 2 pinch and 2s, and so we knew most of the time they'd be cutting right then. And so, just the game plan before, our coaches are really good at watching film, breaking it down. So every Monday we have we scheme for them. We set up their defense. We run their defense against our offense all week. So it's nothing new on Friday night.
No, I like that. And again, kudos to your coaches for really putting you in that position to succeed. As we all know, they're great supporters and allowing this to happen. But we have a first on Grace's Gym. We had to bring your mom, Abby Avery, on. Again, I saw the tweet, where it comes out and it states that, hey, this isn't just my son out here padding stats, compiling stats. He needed every single one of these yards, as I say, and every touchdown for his team to get the victory. Hopefully, do we have the tweet up? We've got to put the tweet up first. I've got to see it. Here we go. So, Mom, I'm going to read it real quick. Shout out to my boy, because, again, this comes to me. I see this. I had a bye week this week. I was hanging out. I took my lady to sushi. I had a great Friday night. So I'm getting this, and I see shout out to my boy, 397 total rushing yards. And, again, we've got to make sure we highlight, and she highlighted this perfectly. These are necessary yards to secure a game win, not amplified. I love that. Not amplified just to break a record. While he did break the record, hashtag drag the pile. So, Abby, we're glad to have you on. Could you talk about just, your thought process here? We loved it, but just want to hear about that and about your son's performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love spotlighting him. He knows that I am all ball. I absolutely love football. He knows I'm probably going to be somebody to embarrass him at a game too. You never know. But he knows that I'm pretty hardcore. We're do or die here. It's you give it your all. I'll easily tell any of the players on the team too, let's go, suck it up. Let's go. If you get a hard hit, let's go, get up, work through it. But yeah, I absolutely love reading all y'all's posts. And that's why I tweeted that back, is because I want to make sure that folks know, I see stats too. I read the newspaper, and I see that, people can amplify yardage, just to get a record. I know that. And I wanted that to be clear on my post too, that, he worked hard for that. And that was not the game plan whenever we went into that game. That was just, he broke free, 60 yards, 70 yards. And, those helped with that. But that's that was definitely not his goal or on his radar for this game per se,
Understandable.
Yeah.
So we got a two-part question here, and then we'll wrap. The first part, again, he's a man of few words. He's a man that seems like he's a doer and is going to lead by example. Talk about, some of the things that you love about him as a football player. And again, we mentioned the two-way player and him, of course, being out there all the time, rushing the ball so much, getting those tackles. Do you get nervous with some of the big hits he may take, or dish out from his end too?
I will say, so I video every single clip of every game. So when we come home at night, he watches his huddle film. We break down my film too, because I don't just record the game. Like, I break down every single play. And a lot of times my film's a lot better than huddle. So he'll come in, my husband will come in, they'll grab my phone. Your film's better than ours. Let me look at it through your phone, but that I view the game through my phone. Like, I do not watch the games live, like, without looking through my phone, because I can just visualize it more. So I know as soon as there's an impact or a hard hit or something like that, because I've zoomed in, but I do get nervous. I'm not going to lie. My stomach gets in a absolute wreck the whole day of a game, because I want them to win so bad. My husband asked me Friday night right before the game. I was standing at the gate and he said, "Why are you crying?" I said, "I just want you to win so bad." So, but I want that passion from me and my want to exude to that team so bad. And I want them to want it so bad, every single player.
Wow. Well, Abby, thank you for coming on. Hey, I got to ask you a quick question. Did you ever play sports, Abby?
Yes, I played basketball, volleyball, and softball. Yeah. So we're a very competitive family. Absolutely.
I could tell that apple did not fall far from that tree. Yes. So we thank you so much for coming on. I think incredible athletic family, incredible performance Friday night. So we appreciate you, Mason Avery.
All right. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks. Bye bye.
Yeah. Tell us how when people get the call like Mason did, how are they going to get in touch with us here on the show?
We know each week, if you've had a great performance, reach out to me at Coach Jay Grice. Mason and family knows how to do that when he has big performances. Reach out to Ed Langston Works Jr., at Observer Preps. Let us know. Again, hey, the bar is continuing to be set higher and higher. We're looking at stats. We got to apparently make sure we're getting stats that are crucial to a game. But again, the time of the year we got to have it. But reach out to us. Let us know you had a big performance. Try to get to us, Saturday afternoon. I'm starting to try to, make sure people understand we do have a cutoff as we're trying to get all of these put together. But as we always say, if you ball, you're going to get the call.
You know what? I would love to be sitting at that dinner table with Abby Avery and that family looking over game film each Friday, Saturday night, because I guarantee you she could probably break it down better than some coaches.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of a good conversation, Chelsea, who we got on tap this week?
So this week I interviewed a sophomore, Jack Smith from Pine Lake Prep. When I interviewed him, they were 7-0, still are. And so just really talking about that undefeated start they have and his impact as only a sophomore.
Awesome.
All right. Hey, before we start the video, I see you got a Tennessee shirt on. Is that like a clue to maybe where you're headed?
No, at first I had one sweatshirt. Or I had one college, a ton of sweatshirts, and now my dad's been buying me schools that I'm applying to. So told me you got to stop buying the sweatshirts until I break.
Well, hey, we know Kenzie's up there.
I like that.
Hey, Kenzie will bring you on up there.
Oh, yeah. Kenzie's going to take her on official visits. I'm telling you, she's going to have so many choices. She's going to have all the hats and sweatshirts ready for decision day. Chelsea, we're so excited and can't wait. But first, let's get to this video.
For sure. So this week I'm interviewing sophomore class of 2025, Jack Smith from Pine Lake Prep Football. So Jack, you guys are currently 7-0, 4-0 in the conference. Tell us about how you guys got on this undefeated streak and how you hope to continue.
Well, it really started with us in the off season in the summer, just grinding in the weight room, doing a lot of conditioning, because a lot of us play two ways. So that conditioning really helped. And just right before the starts of practice, we do this thing called pre-practice, where the D-line go over to the goalpost and warm up by hitting the bag and everything. and our defensive coordinator, Coach McCune, he sends some of our DBs on like the guard routes and stuff. So that kind of helps us out through the season to get us going.
Absolutely. And Jack, you guys have 3 more conference games left in the season. Kind of elaborate on those games and how you hope to keep going undefeated.
Well, it really starts with us just staying focused in practice, keeping up that high energy, because when one guy goes down, the whole team goes down. So we just got to keep up that high energy and just keep on rolling, man.
Absolutely. Is there a game of those 3 that you're most excited for?
Well, I'm excited for every game. Every game, I'm always amped up, ready to go. But I'd have to say CSD. That's our rivalry game. Battle for the paddle. That's probably one of our big games.
Absolutely. And Jack, I know you're only a sophomore, but you played last year freshman on varsity. Just between that 1 year, talk about the growth you've noticed in yourself as an athlete.
Well, I've seen a lot of improvement with lifting weights and my agility and just getting so much faster off the line. Like last year, I was in bad habits of like the swim move and stuff that would always catch me. They'd always get under my ribs and stuff. But now I've gotten into a good habit of swatting hands and just really powerhousing those centers and the guards, just getting back there and taking the quarterback out.
Absolutely. And Jack, to those who don't know you as an athlete, tell us about who you are on the field, your game style, and also who you are off the field, maybe in the classroom.
Well, in the classroom, it's my main focus is getting that work done. But when I'm on the field, there's just a click in my brain that just tells me that to tune everything out and it's time to go play ball. So I have like a switch to where when I'm in the classroom, it's all about listening, learning with my teachers, and always getting that extra help. But then when I'm on the field, it's time to go.
Absolutely. And Jack, could you elaborate on some of your goals this season that you have for yourself? And then also, how do those contribute to some of the team goals?
Some of the goals that I have for myself this season is I'd really like to try and set our sack record for our school. But as a team, I feel like my goal to help our team out is just get ready for these next games, get ready to dominate, make these blowouts, and just show people that Pine Lake is really a good school.
Absolutely. And Jack, I know this summer you've touched a few campuses doing camps, and I know you're only a sophomore, but do you hope to get into the recruiting process?
Of course I do. That's one of my main goals. I'm trying to play at the next level. I'm trying to play ball. That's always been my dream ever since I was a kid. When I started off in flag football, was always just to succeed with my dreams going into college and hopefully make it big one day.
Absolutely. Well, you're already off to a great start. Thank you so much for hopping on, and best of luck continuing the streak.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Man, that's Chelsea. I mean, I went back and looked when you started with us, Chelsea, to now, and it's like you were so smooth. It's like I'm watching like Fox or something, and
Thank you.
Really good. You're really good. But you got to do Sam's little thing for him, when you do your thing, how people can get on.
So to be featured on Chelsea's World, my Twitter and Instagram are at Chelsea Simple. Hit my DMs, we'll set something up. This is the best coverage you can get for high school athletics.
All the good hair vibes. I had to bring the hair out right now. Like I was just like, man, like the show's got some good hair vibes. I'm struggling today. But
he like sunshine from Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
But Chelsea, thanks a lot, and we'll catch you next week. Make sure you guys hit her on the DM so you can view.
See y'all next week.
All right. Before we move on, I did want to go back to Bryce's gems real quick. We got a couple people this week text in from Wilmington and one from Fayetteville, and they want to know, could they be on? And yeah, anybody can be a Bryce's gem. Bryce's gems is statewide. You can DM Coach Bryce right there on Twitter. You can DM Charlotte Krebs. You can DM me at Alex Worth Jr. And we can definitely consider, even like Bryce said, try to get it in on Saturdays. By Saturday, 5, 6 o'clock, so we have time to kind of vet them because we get so many. How many times we changed that thing this week, Chris?
3, 4, 5. But I mean, I think every time it was like somebody else coming in with a great stat. Another thing, Langston, too, to tell people, I think I said it, but even if you're not sure, like, if your guy had a big day, and I think some people do a great job of this, is saying, hey, my guy had, the touchdowns is the easy part. My guy had 5 touchdowns and probably close to 200 yards. Like, give us a ballpark. A lot of times, even if your stats don't come in till later that Saturday, it's best to let us know, hey, my guy had a great night. He really, did this, did that, and I think that'll help some people, because I think some people are waiting for official stats when, if you kind of get an idea, we can, kind of wait, or at least make sure you're good to go when you find.
And then we get the officials. We get the officials on Sunday or something. Absolutely. Well, Grace and Alex, are you guys ready? It's time to do the top 10 games of the week. Now, I think we're going to start on the Eastern side. Because Bryce is doing so many games, we got to give him a second to catch his breath. So let's start on the Eastern side, Alex, and we'll let Bryce get to the last one. You do the first one.
A good bevy of games with some different implications. Richmond County in a situation where they've gotten some things together since a rough start, dropping the first 3 games of the season. Big game at Lee County. Lee County coming off a tough loss to Pinecrest, but a good opportunity for both schools. Middle Creek and Apex. Apex with a win this game. Apex still is undefeated, by the way. If Apex wins this game, they clinch second place in the conference and a playoff berth for the first time since 2014.
Wow.
Hillside and Chapel Hill. And Hillside rolling right along in the DAC 7 4A conference, just taking care of business once again, still undefeated. Ledford and Oak Grove, a good triad area rivalry outside of right outside of Guilford County. So a good bevy of games right there with some unique historical implications in the eastern part of the state. Maybe not as triangle-centric this week. We had a good bevy of triangle games last week, but still.
Yeah, when you didn't include any CMS games in your thing last week, you just kicked CMS to the curb.
Right. All of a sudden this week, it's like we don't say nothing about those.
Games
from the triangle areas.
As I said last week.
Don't spin it up.
Last week, the CMS schedule was abominable. This week, it's amazing.
Okay.
Last week, the Triangle had a great slate of games.
This week,
it's not impressive at all.
Okay, well, we're getting ahead of ourselves with CMS. Let's let Grace tell us about the big game in the East, which is Rose taking on. I'm losing my
Newbern.
Rose Newbern. Okay, Grace, tell me about Rose wins this game.
Yeah, man, this is a great game. Again, down east, these are 2 big powers. J.H. Rose, of course, making it to the state championship game last year, only to lose to one of the most prolific Dudley teams we've seen in a while. They get their big test on with Newbern, who's quietly becoming, the best team in the East there. But again, J.H. Rose, if they win, that passing attack throws off Newbern. I mean, Newbern's definitely a team that focuses on running the ball. We'll get to that, of course, in a second. But I always say for teams that run first, their defense is not used to seeing prolific passing attacks. They have to be successful against Newbern. Will Taylor, he's 21 touchdowns, 4 picks, averaging over 200 yards per game. He's a guy that's going to get that ball down the field. I mean, he's got his favorite targets. Kendarius Geddes has 10 touchdowns already in this season, so having a great season so far. And Jackson Latham is the number 2 guy with 6 touchdowns. Will Taylor's going to get the ball to those 2 guys. Newbern's got to make sure that they're covered. Second, they got to slow down the Newbern offense. I mean, we know, last year's Mr. Football watch list, stalwart there, Aaron Herring. He's still there. He's still doing great things, but they've got to slow him down in that offense. It's going to run through him. Henry Walter, Jaquarius Brown, Wright Collins are 3 of the big impact guys on defense. They know who's getting the ball for Newbern. It's not a secret. It's not something that, we weren't aware of. They've got to make sure they stop that guy. And then finally, they got to show they can hang with the big boys. I mean, you look at their schedule, they seem to be favored in every single game. The one game they weren't, of course, was with Cleveland. They lost 43-28. I think that these games, and of course, this is a conference game. They're split 3A, 4A conference. They've got to show and make that stand that, hey, we can hang with the big boys. We're going to be ready for the playoffs and, again, get back to that state championship game.
All right, flip it for me. Tell me why Newbern wins.
New wins again. I mentioned him already. Aaron Herring, he's got to continue his great season. He has over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. Still having a great year. A guy that did it last year is showing again. He's one of the best guys in this state running that football. He does it. He does his job. But no surprise that they're going to take care of business. All right, let's get to this year's Mr. Football watch list from New Bern. KJ Sampson, I mean, he's one of the sack leaders in the state, one of the best defensive players that we have, and one of the best players in the state, regardless of position. He's got to be, continue to be dominant. He's got to help make sure that they slow down that passing attack from J.H. Rhodes, get the quarterback Will Taylor, and continue on his sacks that he keeps piling up every week. And then finally, they've got to show that they're ready to be the beast of the East in the 4A Fight Club. They've got we always talk about the guys in the triangle, the Millbrooks, the Rollsvilles, the Gibbons, all of those guys there. New Bern is going to be hosting a lot of these big teams if they're able to show that they're one of the best teams in the East later in those third and fourth rounds. This puts a stamp on that and ensures that those teams have got to come out there if they want to make sure they make it to the state championship game.
Alex, final word here.
Final word, I do agree with New Bern. I can say that what we're seeing with New Bern's juniors and seniors now with Herring and Sampson, this is the culmination of what has been a 3 to 4 year maturation process. And Jonathan is right on point. Can they show that they're ready to be the beast of the East? These are the same guys who showed flashes of brilliance in 2019 in a game at New Bern and in the spring of 2021 in the state semifinal at Cardinal Gibbons. Now, were they in a position then to surpass the Gibbons defense and Nick Drew? Not quite. But at the same time, but they did show flashes in both of those games, which I saw in person both of the time. I mean, they drove hard that game in New Bern in 19 on the first drive,
right, and
showed that they were a force to be reckoned with. So the pieces are there. This is the culmination of a maturation process.
So we got our Nick Drew reference in right there. I knew it was coming. All right, before we get to the Western games, Sam does his Frontline Warrior thing. And Sam, who'd you talk to this week?
Frontline Warriors switched it up on me a little bit this week. Hold on one second, my mic.
Look at the show. Look at
it's live TV, man. You did show.
The show. He's
live TV.
Sorry, bro.
But he does a lineman every week, and although he acts like he doesn't want to talk about it. Sam, you got a fan here. Alex, you got a fan here.
Nick Drew, president.
Nick Drew, president. But Sam interviewed Sean McFarland with Marvin Ridge. We're gonna drop that real quick.
Hey, I'm Coach Sam Griner. Another episode of the Frontline Warrior. This week we have Sean McFarland from Marvin Ridge coming off a big win, 44-0 over Cupperson. And talk a little about that game, Sean.
Yeah, you always have respect for your opponent, and I was like, just take it like any other game,
Well, I got you. I mean, you're coached by one of the best O-line coaches in the entire state. He runs
great coach.
Finish O-line Academy, Coach Leggett. He does a great job. We're going to see a lot of this in your film. We're going to let the film roll while we're talking a little bit. But tell me about, what did you grade out this game?
I graded out a 91 this game.
Okay. That's really good. Anything over 90 is fantastic. You remember how many knockdowns you had? I know we counted.
Well, Coach Leggett, he said I had 14.
Yeah, 14, 0 sacks allowed. That's big time. That's Frontline Warrior capability. And I just love that you're playing left tackle because you're one of the best linemen, probably in Union County, and you're doing a great job for your team. But more likely at college, you're going to play guard and center, but you do what's best for your team. Talk about doing what's best for your team, playing at a different position you will in college.
So for my team, I'm going to do what's best for our team, and whatever it takes to help us win, really.
That's really good, Sean. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, right? I mean, you gotta do what's best for your team. When you're doing a great job, if you're winning 44-0, there's no doubt about it. Let's watch your highlight a little bit and let's go through it. I mean, your kick slide being, taught by Coach Leggett is going to be bar none one of the best there is. Coming off the ball, I saw some of your highlights. You had a lot of knockdowns, but you're never getting beat. It seems like your base is really good. I know he talks about one of his things called a drive catch. Tell me about the drive catch, the technique that he teaches.
Yeah, so you do not want to like reach when you go back with your foot. It's almost like you want to drive off that front leg pretty much. So
Yeah,
that you're not like opening up or you're not putting too much weight on that one leg. I mean, you want to stay balanced pretty much and keep your knees inside the ankles pretty much.
no doubt. Yeah, big hip hinge guy. I know. I mean, Coach Leggett, he coaches the heck
He's
out of
big
it.
on it. I mean, even in the weight room, he is.
No doubt. But he's one of the best of the land. And Sean McFarland, I really appreciate you being on this episode of Frontline Warrior. You're doing a great job. Keep leading your team, and proud of you, brother.
Thank you.
If you want to come on Frontline Warrior, please hit me up on Twitter. It's at Coach Sam Griner. Also, you can hit up at Charlotte Preps on Twitter as well. Even hit up Langston Wirtz. He'll love getting those at Langston Wirtz Jr. Please, Frontline Warrior, we need some more. We can only have only one per week. Looking for the next one.
You see how Sam's trying to get my inbox even more full than it already is?
My bad.
Sneaking in on it. No, I mean, we want to feature kids on this show, and we have lots of ways to feature you guys. You know, kids used to always tell me you're hating on me, sleeping on me. Well, this show gives you 4, 5, 6 different ways to come on. And let's get back to these games, Alex. Let's flip it over to the west side. We'll leave Grice those bottom 3.
All right, Bunker Hill and Maiden. Just another great rivalry deal in that Unifor area. Once again, the Unifor has a unique flavor to it in its entire sports landscape. Also, the Unifor, that area is one of Langston Wirtz's favorite areas to visit, as he did for years during the high school basketball regionals.
I didn't like the regionals up there. No, I didn't like that. I like the area, but those little high they're just too small for the crowds they were getting.
Now, what you see is just the community pride of both of these schools that spans generations. You see the student athletes who had fathers and grandfathers play for these schools, which gives it a unique feel to it. And it's always competitive football all the way around. So,
Grice, were you able to vet that stat that person sent to us earlier today about the difference in those games? I didn't look at it.
I wasn't able to, but it was just, I think it was just one of those great things about this show of just people sending us, the list of just the history between that game. And I mean, I'm excited. I think it's cool to see just all the build up around a big time game like that.
All right, Alex, tell me about this next game, because I think Mr. Grice might know a little something about this game, but we're going to put him on the spot. But tell us about this next game.
Well, this is a game, I mean, just like we get excited in the East when teams have to line up against Nick Drew's defense, so too do we get excited every time in the West when teams have to line up and try to find new innovative ways to stop the offense of the one and the only Jonathan Grice. So
up 50 half the time this year.
Well, what you're seeing right here is you're seeing just the epitome of the infusion of 336 tendencies in 704. And Mr. Grice is showing, I mean, this is extending beyond Mecklenburg County into the surrounding counties, and the influence of 336 infusing on 704 goes beyond Mecklenburg County, like I just said. So when you have innovative offensive minds sharing the wealth of knowledge that they have and imparting that infinite wisdom to young, impressionable student athletes, then they will ball and they will get the call. and maybe sooner or later, if they follow the right path, they may be 704 made and 704 paid, like Mr. Grice.
You got Grice down 11. Chris, what's going to happen in this game, man? Lake Norman's pretty angry coming off that 55-10 loss against Hickory Ridge. Knoxville's trying to get some momentum. What's going to happen?
I don't know, but I was kind of duped in thinking Lake Norman had a chance to beat Hickory Ridge, and boy, I was wrong, about 45 points short. I seen Coxville up close. I've had a chance to see Coach Grice's play calling. Highly impressed with what I've seen. Coxville is such a dynamic, talented team that can do a lot of different things. Their scheme is really on point. So Coach Jonathan Oliphant and that incredible staff over there at Lake Norman certainly going to have their hands full. But, they know that. They study film. They're smart enough to figure it out. I think Lake Norman, they just got to find a way to score some points and find a way to stop Cox Mill. But I think this is going to be a highly entertaining game. It's one that I wouldn't mind being at.
Is it gonna rain Friday?
I don't know. I'm not a Brad.
Guys, I know it's not gonna rain Friday. That would be a huge thing for Lake Norman if the field slowed down, because Cox Mill has really good athletes, really good speed. All right, Grace, we're gonna start with Catholic and Butler. Tell us a little bit about that game.
All right. I mean, again, this game last year was probably one of the most entertaining games of the year. I mean, you talk about you're playing in Catholic Stadium. You know, you had Xavier Brown, I think, score a touchdown with less than a minute left, I think it was, to win that game last year. It's going to be a big game. I think, definitely has switched up a little bit. Of course, Butler doesn't have the experience at quarterback. But, Butler wins. Butler's D's got to stop Griffin Sovine. I mean, I think, that we've got to see that, Catholic's ground game is going to be there. I mean, you look at Taquan Rankin, Jaden Coleman for Butler. They've got to be, they've got to be good. We talk about Butler always having that great D-line and linebackers. They've got to prove it in this game with a great ground game there. And honestly, Butler's got to get the ground game going. It's kind of crazy saying that, talking about a Brian Hales offense. But if you go look, I mean, DJ Horton and Keyshawn Peoples, they're averaging together about 100 yards per game or so. And you go back and look at some of the running backs that they've had in the past. I mean, you talk about, Jamal Worthy even being the latest and going down, down that line of all those backs. They really aren't running the ball like they used to. They've got to get the ground game going in this game. And then finally, they've got to minimize mistakes. I mean, you look at their only loss versus New Hanover, you had 4 turnovers, and it was a 1-point loss. I mean, again, so if they minimize turnovers, they're able to be successful here. With a young sophomore quarterback, you've got to do a lot of things to get that ball out of his hands and making sure they're taking care of the ball there.
Dale, you see – go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Flipping it to Catholic. I mean, I think I've kind of said this before. Got to mix old Catholic with new Catholic. I really think that's a great plan for them. I really think it throws teams off. And I say that mixing the old Catholic with a lot of their wing-based ground games, run game stuff, throwing that in there with the passing game. You've got a quarterback that can do it. You got a tight end that's Jack Larson that's extremely talented. So I mean they mix that in. I really think it throws teams off. And the second piece, it relates to what I said on the Butler end. Catholic's got to get turnovers. You got a young quarterback on one side. The secondary's got to show up. One thing I know about Zach Lawrence at Butler, and even with Brian Hill's play calling, he's going to put his trust in that quarterback to take a few shots. Catholic has been challenged all year. We go back to the Hickory Ridge game. They're going to be challenged down the field. They have to make plays. And then finally, I think Catholic's got to attack early with the deep ball. I know that's weird to say with a Charlotte Catholic offense. That was their game plan watching film with the Hickory Ridge game. They wanted to get up early. They wanted to get points, and so they got the ball down the field. So I think Catholic's got to do a little bit of that if they expect to win the ball game. Excuse me.
Dale, you've seen both of these teams. What do you think?
I think we're going to see Catholic hit a few big plays to their tight end. That's one of the things that Catholic is real big on. They suck you in on that run, and then the tight end is down the seam. They hit him and hit him big. Both teams are big up front on both offensive and defensive lines. I think if you look at weakness and strengths of Butler, it's I think front seven's very strong, and maybe not quite as strong in the secondary, which kind of goes counter to the Catholic mode of attacks. That's why I think you might see some big tight end plays. I think it's going to be a great ball game. I
like to see I think there's a lot of alumni that's going to show up at this game for Butler. I hope that they have the same type of fan base that like Catholic does at home. I think that'll be a big advantage.
You don't want Catholic to do to Butler what the 49ers did to the Panthers.
You can't equal Catholic's home, though.
Look at Grice. Grice was at the game screaming for the 49ers in the Panther Stadium.
Sad.
Hey, I don't get it. Gary too, 49er fan. I don't get it. No.
I mean, I honestly think Stone.
No.
I think Stone's defense doesn't get enough credit. I think they're one of the better defenses in the state. He's really good. I think he'll be well prepared for Catholic. He knows about the tight end. He'll do a great job there. I think it'll be more of a defensive game than you think.
I think Dale makes a great point about the tight end. That kid is like Kelsey for Catholic.
Oh, he's really good.
Not just him.
The two best tight ends I've seen this year are that kid at Catholic and the kid at Weddington, Griffin Reimer.
The kid at Weddington's good.
The kid at Weddington's incredible. I mean,
you know what?
Using
South Point has a
tight
good
end Using the tight end is a lost art. Most coaches don't know how to coach a tight end anymore.
They do with Catholic and Weddington.
They
That guy
those
Weddington
kids never
had,
scored.
against Providence State, he must have had 14 catches. I mean, he was incredible.
Yeah, you don't get those kids.
Absolutely incredible. All right, guys, we're going to talk about Mallard Creek and Huff in the big CMS game, and let me find out where we're going to start. Let's start with why Creek wins.
If Creek wins, I mean, I don't think anything's, a surprise here. They've got to have enough offense to be successful. We've seen some of their big games. If Creek gets to 20 points, I don't think there's any beating them, honestly. Their defense is going to show up. They preach defense first there. I think that they're going to really be, Jason Bass. But I think they're really going to have to do that and get some shots down the field and put some points up early on the defense. Secondly, the defense has got to force turnovers and interceptions from Tad Hudson. I mean, honestly, I think that defense has got to come up big. I mean, you talk about, Michael Short, a combination of linebackers, he and Jamil Muldrow, Darren Hamilton, one of the DBs. Again, these are all Division I guys. Ish Abdul-Ali, one of the leaders on that defensive line, has got to get pressure on Tad Hudson. Again, I think, Tad has had a pretty good year, hasn't really been challenged or had anybody, to really get him off, kind of being uncomfortable in the pocket. They've got to do that and make that happen. And finally, the third thing, we always talk about this with any Huff team, you've got to win special teams against them. I think in any Huff game, they always come out with the special teams advantage. They've got to be able to make that happen. I mean, I think Huff has the greatest advantage with Nolan Hoosier and the things
Punter too. Punter's incredible too.
He's incredible, and I think with the combination there, if Huff gets 2 first downs, even if they start at the 20 and they're on the 40-yard line, I mean, they flip the field. You're going to start inside the 20. I look though, with Mallard Creek, they've got a return of Benjamin Black. He's had a couple of returns he's taken to the house. I mean, he's a fast, you talk about a track guy, regional guy in the 100-meter dash, 4x100. If he gets the ball in his hands, watch for some explosive things to happen.
He's not going to get a return though. I saw how far that guy kicks it this past.
Oh, after the punt game, they've got to pin him deep in some form. But you're absolutely right.
All right, tell me why Huff wins. I want to hear from Cameron because Cameron's making some chatter in the chat back there. Let's see if he's going to say it with his chest. Go ahead, Grash. Tell me why Huff wins.
Oh yeah, I mean they've got to win the special teams. I think even the point I made, even in the regional final, if I've got one of the best players, including special teams and everything that I believe Nolan Hoosier is. You give me the ball on that 35-yard line, and I got an opportunity to try a 53-yard field goal with that kid. I'm taking it. That kid is that good. I've seen him kick 46, 47-yard field goals in 30-degree weather. That kid is one of the best guys, I think, in the state as far as what he does. So Huff has to win the special teams portion of this game, even on the return game, whether it's brothers Markel or Carmel Quick that are back there for the kick return game. Markel Quick, again, had a big return 2 years running in the Chambers Huff game. He's a guy you've got to watch for in Huff's return game. So, I've heard some doubt maybe of injury there. If he plays, he's going to be a guy to watch in that special teams portion. And then secondly, get the ball to key players. I think, Kevin Olson, the offensive coordinator, does a great job with Huff with getting the ball to their guys, especially this year. You got JT Smith, the bell cow in the backfield. He's going to get the ball 15, 20 times. It's going to be a tough game against this tough Mallard Creek defense. 2- and 3-yard gains in the first quarter to establish that run, turning to 6- and 8-yard gains in the fourth quarter as you're able to open things up. Markel Quick, if he is a go, is going to be a guy that you look for that's a possession receiver magnet. He's going to get 7 to 8 targets. The DBs have got to be tough and aware of that on the Creek side. And if he doesn't, Jacob Dawsey and Saquon Osborne have got to step up, to make sure that they're doing some of those things that Quick does. Look for Osborne, of course, to go vertical in the passing game. He's a guy you really got to watch out for as well. So they have guys, not exactly some of the names that you're used to, but these are guys that can make a big impact. And then finally, the defense has to slow down the run. When playing Mallard Creek, again, the big offensive line. You've got a stable of running backs. Tomar Bivens has been one. I mean, you've got guys that they can put in there. Ja'Kai Patton. There are 3 and 4 guys that they utilize there, including the quarterback. And so you got to be aware of that and stop them and force them in the obvious passing downs. I think that, Creek can't make a living in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14. So, defensive coordinator Chachi Sullivan is aware of this, and he knows if I can get Creek in a consistent 3rd and long, we're going to be able to get them off the field and get our offense back on the field.
Gary, what's going to happen in this game?
It's going to be a blowout. Huff is going to kill him.
Why? And this is going on Mallard Creek Twitter, I'm sure, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, they'll get over it. They ain't swag.
Oh my God.
Go ahead, Gary. What's
Gary.
I'm
No,
laughing.
No, the Huff special teams are superior. Chachi Sullivan, just like Grice just said, he's going to I think Malik Creek's offense is a little bit too one-dimensional, and you got to be multiple to go against Chachi Sullivan at Huff. I just think that he's at the top of the realm. He's a Nick Drew, type defensive coordinator. He'll find a way to get them stopped. And like Grice said, I don't think Malik Creek can get 20 points, and it's going to take more than 20 points to beat Huff.
Well, let's be clear on something too. Like the technical term for Chachi is assistant head coach and defensive. It's not defense coordinator; it's something else. The defense coordinator is actually Steve Williams. I promise you, like you look on the deal, like they both do hand in hand.
They're mad at you, man.
What I'm saying is they have two guys.
That's Chambers' guy.
I just don't think Malik Creek is multiple enough to score enough points against Huff.
Cameron, say it with your chest, son.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say what Gary said. This could get in that Buford-like territory, like blowout city.
Like 42-7 at halftime?
I mean, maybe in the end. I mean, I don't think it'll be like 50-something to 6 like it was against Buford, but I think Huff has the offensive weapons to score on that defense, and I don't think Malik Creek has the offensive weapons in return to score right back on Huff's defense. Huff's defense is the best in the state, in my opinion.
All right, let me hear from the guru. Let me advance you a little bit, Chris. If Huff is the best team from around here and East Forsyth is the best team from down there, and they meet in a regional championship game, what would happen?
It's going to be an incredible game like it was last November. I stood on the sideline with Coach Grice, Coach Pete Gilchrist, and watched a heck of a ball game. I just think that this East Forsyth team is much more seasoned. But I've got to concur with Gary. I just think that Huff's got way too much right now going for it. I see Coach Matt Jenkins, Chachi, that whole crew are really trending and peaking at the right time. And, it's been an evolution for them. They went from not being able to win close games, not being able to get deep in the playoffs, to getting deep in the playoffs but not being able to win it. And I think that they have finally got to that point to where they're on the precipice of doing some big time things. And I think that against a very good, very talented opponent on Friday night, I think that they're going to take that step and kind of show that they're that dominant team. They're the big bad boys on the block right now.
Derek Chambers says it ain't happening. It ain't happening.
All right, let's just be honest. Okay, we're talking in the back.
What's up, Derek Chambers? I grew up with Derek Chambers. We used to get in trouble together back in the day. Dante Hunter says Creek defense is fast and physical, Sam, but able to get turnovers could be trouble.
I think Creek. I think it's definitely not going to be a blowout. Creek's defense is a really good defense. I think that you'll see a lower scoring game. I just think that I don't think Creek will be able to. They might not be able to score any points versus Huff. Their Huff's defense is the best I've seen in a while. They're really, really good. Hard to move.
Compare Chachi Sullivan and Nick Drew. Did I hear that?
It's their two defenses. I mean, Nick Drew does a phenomenal job. I don't see him up close and personal that much, but I would name I could name probably 4 defenses better than Gibbons right now in the state.
Alex?
What you have to
realize, returning starters from the state championship team. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had that conversation last year. We saw how that ended up. Now we all know that this is a different Cardinal Gibbons team. We know that, and this is a different Chambers team. This is a different Mallard Creek team. This is a different Huff team. I think we all know that there are individuals who can be in that conversation for leading elite defenses. And frankly, I'll just conclude by saying that the saddest piece of it all is that 99% of so-called fans, and I mentioned this to Sam earlier this year, 99% of so-called fans have absolutely no concept whatsoever of how gifted these coordinators are and what they do on a week in and week out basis in support of these head coaches' championship pursuits.
No doubt.
I'll tell you what, I think this is going to be the most wide open 4A playoff we've seen in a number of years. Maybe back when Vance played Wake Forest in that final 18, maybe. This is going to be wide open. Dale, would you agree with that? Am I crazy?
I think so. Just because I don't believe we have huge dominance at any point. So yeah, I think so. I do want to say, by the way, I think Kings Mountain might have the best defense.
Okay, Chris, 30,000-mile view 4A. Is there a team that you think is really head and shoulders? Is everybody kind of packing that together? I still think Chambers has got something to say about this before.
I do think that East Forsyth is just a step ahead of everybody else, but I think Huff is right there on that footsteps with them.
Cameron.
Yeah, I think there's three teams: East Forsyth, Chambers, and Huff. They are very solid on both sides of the ball. On the East, I mean, Cardinal Gibbons will be there. I don't know if they'll make it to the state championship game or not, but I think they'll end up, final 8 for sure.
Experience and good defense is going to be hard to beat in the playoffs when it's close. All right, so we got one more game to talk about, Grice. I was trying to give you a second to catch your breath. We got Providence Day playing Christian, which could be a preview of the private school state championship game. It's going to be an incredible crowd over there. I do believe this is the game of the week at the state this week. And tell me about why Christian might win, Grice.
I think since private school bias, but no,
I don't have a private school bias. I just think that's the only focus week.
It is going to be an incredible game, and I think the Christian PD games in the past have been wonderful. But again, if Christian wins, they've got to win the turnover battle. I mean, they have, I think, 13 turnovers so far this year. They're going to have to steal some extra possessions against this high-powered offense. I don't think there's any secret there at all. Jaden Davis has been phenomenal this year. That back end, that secondary for Christian will be challenged, and they've got to rise to the occasion. So they've got to win that. Again, going into that, the DBs have to have their best game of the year. I mean, you've got to guard Channing Goodwin. You've got to guard Jordan Shipp. I think that's going to be a huge task, for anybody to deal with. Much less, you got Armonte Ferguson, LJ Porter, 2 DBs in the Christian, secondary. I think that have been leaders as far as getting interceptions, pass deflections. They're going to have a great game. Grant Tucker, one of the linebackers, is going to have to make sure anything underneath is taken care of as well. So they've got a tall task in front of them, but this has to be the game they play well. And then highlighting, again, I talk about this all the time about best players on the field. For a team like Christian, who I would say is the slight underdog in this game, they have to have the best player on the field to win the game. Kyron Jones is that. I said it. I thought about it as I was putting this together, kind of looking at some film and stuff. He's got a channel as the inner Henry Rutledge from a couple of years ago. He's got to come out there and really dominate this. I mean, again, he's a D1 player. Multiple offers, a guy that I think will go on Saturdays and be a productive player. But he's got to really show that against his toughest test against this Providence Day defense.
And Providence Day has had a couple of easy weeks where they hadn't had the starters out very long. But what do they got to do to win?
I mean, they've got to stick to the program. I don't think that they're doing anything different. I mean, hey, we've got to advance the ball down the field to Shipp, Goodwin, and Holler, the triumvirate they have there, and then get the ball to Gallos and Peel whenever he comes on the offensive side of the ball on the ground. I mean, I don't think that they need to come in here doing anything different. These players that they have, these positions are excellent players. Get them the ball, doing a lot of the things that Chagger has had them do, and I think they'll be successful. Secondly, they've got to contain Kyron Jones. I think, Christian has some good players. Quarterback, I think his coach's son is leading and is at the offense. We know that Kyron Jones, and they're going to get the ball to him in multiple different ways. Coach, he stepped in, coach with the Christian program, and he's great on the offensive side of the ball. They've got to do that. And again, for the defensive side with Providence Day, Keon Abdul-Rahim is one of the best linebackers that people haven't talked about. I think we've had him on fresh bases. He's a guy I think that's going to be, have to step up big. Lucas Santweir and Liam Gruel, of course, are other guys on that Providence Day defense that are leaders. They've got to make sure that the whole defense is aware of where Kyron Jones is on that field to make sure that they step up and knock him down or defend him wherever he is. And finally, again, we talked about this with Providence Day. This can't be a rivalry anymore. Challenging, taking my inner Glenwood therapy. This cannot be a rivalry anymore. If they're taking the next step, they do Providence Day to a national program. This can't be a rivalry. I'm sorry. It's when looking at these two teams, Christian is a good team, but Providence Day has to dominate to take that next step. I think Kyron Jones will do a lot to make it interesting here, but if Providence Day wants to show hard work works and take that next step to be a national program, they need to dominate this game to get prepared for the games coming in the future for that national.
They talked about going undefeated at the end of the season. I think they have to do that and kind of win the state championship. not necessarily convincingly, but like solidly to kind of take that step they want. They can't take an L during the season if they're trying to be IMG. And last week they came out with the new jumbotrons. They put new jumbotrons in the gym. They're doing it big in Providence State. So they got to really go. Alex, you want to comment here?
I think what we're having here is something that went on with Independence back when it was on its run in the early 2000s. A lot of times people got confused between who could be the best team and what was the best game or matchup. And I think that's what we have going on here. Independence rarely was involved in the best game in a lot of weeks. It was the best team, but was not involved in the best game. And that's what we have here. This Charlotte Christian Providence State matchup is not the best game. Frankly, it is nothing but a distraction from the best games in the greater Charlotte area. And it basically is one of those things where Charlotte Christian is doing what it's done so well in so many ways, and that's create distractions. That's all it's doing. It's taking away from the Mallard Creek Huff and Charlotte Catholic Butler games, which in terms of games surpass this game by light years. It's a distraction. Congratulations, Christian.
All right.
That's ridiculous.
With that,
I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous. Every Catholic and Butler fan will go watch their game. It's not a distraction at all.
No, I agree. With that, we're going to go to Fresh Face.
Here we are again, Coach Grice. My favorite segment of the show where we're highlighting tomorrow's stars today here on Talking Preps North Carolina going into week 10. And we've got some great looking young men who are really starting to crank it up. And hey, going into week 9, I should say, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, they aren't exactly sophomores anymore. They're starting to get some games under their belt. These are some guys that are really starting to show us what they can be. We're going to go all the way up to the Triangle to Rollsville, North Carolina. Braden Atkinson led his team to a 35-6 victory over previously undefeated Millbrook. We know Millbrook was one of Alex's big-time teams in the state, throwing 3 touchdowns. In the first half alone, in the first 6 games, Atkinson had 893 yards and 11 touchdowns in his first 6 games. That's some big-time numbers, Coach Grice.
Big time, and you got to highlight this fresh face when, again, we know about some of the names from Rollsville. The Byron Browns, who's now in South Florida. You still got Noah Rogers there. You've got some big-time talent. The quarterback stepping in there had to fill some big shoes, and I think he's doing so in a pretty big way. Kind of had a rough start, we know, early in the year. I think he took some time to get going, but this is a big performance. When you talk about he was the best quarterback in a game involving Mason Fortune, that's some big-time talent here. So I'm excited to see him continue to grow, and again, be on the watch for Rollsville as the playoffs come. I really think they're a force to be reckoned with a lot of talent. Braden Atkinson is going to be the driver of that talent. Watch out for him.
Yeah, despite a couple losses, I still think Rollsville is a fringe top 10 team. I really do. Let's go all the way out to the eastern part of the state. Snow Hill, a team that's really exploded onto the 2A landscape at Green Central High School, and that's Jamari Coppage. He ran 27 times for 166 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 26-13 victory over Washington. Green Central is 8-0. He's rushed 73 times for 793 yards and 11 touchdowns. It don't do a lot of math to know he's averaging about 10 yards a carry. That's big-time performances, Coach Grice.
I mean, you see him here, even with the little bit of film we have, just guys that's hard to tackle, able to utilize moves, look at the jump cuts in the hole. That first guy's not bringing him down. Again, you talk about Green Central, emerging on that 2A landscape. A big reason why is Jamari Coppage. So I'm excited to see him as it gets colder. We're ready to see, these running backs take over with that weather getting colder, and he's going to be even tougher to be brought down in 30-degree weather.
Yeah, agreed. Hey, another team that has really moved up to 2A and handled themselves quite nicely is Pine Lake Prep. Coach Austin Trotter, we know how they've done in a 49-14 victory over Bishop McGinnis. Gabe Bolivar had 7 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 quarterback hurries, returned a blocked field goal, 76 yards for a touchdown. Bolivar also has 7.5 sacks in 4 games. I don't know what we're talking about. That is some big-time defensive numbers. He is a true football player.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, Coach Austin Trotter's talked about how young his defense is. And I'm pretty scary with guys like Gabe out there that they are going to only continue to get better. They've been putting up big time numbers on the offensive side, but I'm glad to highlight the other side of the ball for him to show exactly why they're having the success they're having. So again, a kid like Gabe, you're seeing it again on the defensive side, you're seeing it in the special teams arena. He's going to be an all-around kid and one of those guys that Coach Trotter is going to rely on as they continue to see how far they can go into A.
All right, and finally tonight, let's go all the way back down to Eastern North Carolina to the Port City in Wilmington. New Hanover High School's Marion Robinson had a team-high 4 interceptions and 28 tackles for a team that is 7-1, won 7 straight games. And, oh, by the way, knocked off Butler. So we know that they're a strong football team. Robinson, I'm just looking at the film right here, Coach, and I know you're an offensive guy and you have to really pinpoint them defensive guys when you're breaking down your film. He looks like that one guy on the field that can almost take away a half of the field. He can go in and take the run. He looks like a really good player.
Definitely an athletic safety. I mean, I think that was, we got the first look at them when they played Butler. Their athleticism, I think, was something that jumped off the page, and Robinson was one of those guys that did. So you're seeing him as a safety, being able to drive on a ball that's, way down the field, but also be responsible for it, have in-the-box responsibility and provide run support and make that deliver that big hit to ensure that guy doesn't go further. So I think they're going to be pretty good. I mean, they're already showing how dominant they can be this year. Some look out in the Fight Club in the East. I think they're going to be pretty good this year.
Absolutely. Oh, again, this is Fresh Faces. If you do need, if you are a fresh face, a sophomore, junior coming up on the scene, how can they get in touch with the show?
Feel free to reach out at Observer Preps at Langston Wirtz Jr. Reach out to me at Coach Jay Grice. Again, we have some guys that show they have good performances. They may not reach the level of a gym. I mean, we get some dominant performances around the state each week, but it may be to the level of a fresh face to where, hey, this guy's emerging, and we don't want to look 5 weeks from now when you have that gym-worthy performance and not highlight you. Our thought here is we want to make sure that we are the first to show you on this show so that everybody else can get to know your face and your name, because you're going to be somebody to watch in the future.
All right, man, here we are in the 3 shots. That must be time to lock the door. So let's go ahead and get Coaches versus Coach started.
I'm angry.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Grice got me while I'm wounded, but I'm coming back today. I'm coming back for you.
I hear you. Well, as always, you're the home team, Sam. I'm assuming that you're going to defer.
No, I'm going to recede today and whoop that tail.
Woo! He wants the ball.
Yeah, we got to change. We got to get some offense going.
Okay. Well, hey, here we go. First question, Coach versus Coach. Deion Sanders versus Eddie Robinson. Who was right? Before we answer, let's go to the video. Well, I think we have a video. Maybe we don't.
I definitely want to see the video.
Last play of the game. Jackson State moves to 5-0, 12th straight conference win for the Tigers, and they spoil the homecoming of the Hornets. 26-12 is the final score. Oh, a little heated exchange there in midfield between Coach Prime and Coach Eddie Robinson.
All right, Sam, you're up.
I'm going to be honest with you. Deion Sanders is the man. You cannot mess with Prime Time. What did Prime Time do wrong? I mean, you chose him for homecoming. That's your fault. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's going up there. Hey, congratulations. You tried really hard. Better luck next year. What's the problem? Deion Sanders is in the right. You can't be in the right because you ain't even got your mic on, baby. I love it.
Don't hug me. I had my mic there because I was already heated. Don't hug me, Griner. Yeah, you beat me and all this goes on. Don't hug me right then. We'll talk later. No, I don't need a hug from you. We're actually friends, but they're not friends. It's not a situation where you need to hug me. Shake my hand.
It wasn't a hug. It was a dap bump.
We're not going in for the real thing. We're not doing any of that. There are multiple layers here, of course, that we could discuss, right? But from a surface level, especially, and we all know that there were things that went on, pregame here. Anytime we've been in this grinder where you're playing a heated rival, the kids have been going back and forth. We have coaches. You tell your coaches, watch the handshake line. You tell everybody to kind of make sure, we knew things were going on before. we've seen this with Harbaugh in the pros with I can't remember, Jim Schwartz, I think, with Detroit. Like the handshake thing with their intentions building, or in a close game or in a heated game, they should be very brief and kind of go from there. And we all love Prime, but I think in that situation, he should have used a little more judgment to say, all right, this coach may be heated and maybe a little more here. So again, we all love Prime. He's got to understand, I think, and have a little more self-awareness and just say, all right, I'll shake his hand. Maybe we'll talk later to clear the air, but that wasn't the right time.
It was. He didn't even do. I mean, he wasn't even trying to have a full conversation. Doing a little dap bump. That's just what we do. Dap bump.
No, it's not what we do after a game like that.
Me and you hug it out, Grice. We've hugged it out.
But again, I also like you and I'm cool with you. I didn't have a situation where our kids are about to fight and I'm looking at you and
Eddie Robinson's upset because no one even knows who he is. Now you know. Now you know who he is because of Deion Sanders. Congratulations.
Maybe Robinson's mad that Prime is now more swag than he is.
I loved it though. I don't care. I loved it. Hey, tell the newcomer he ain't swag. I love it.
Oh yeah. Hey, let's stick with you, Coach Grice. Let's move on to question number 2 here. Should high school and colleges have the NFL style rules in place to protect the quarterback?
Man, I actually think they should. Shoot, man. Hey, Griner, I've had to go into games where I've had a guy, and if that guy got a hangnail, we were going to have to pause the game for 5 minutes or go direct snap the rest of the game, man. These guys, pros and all this, can hire so many guys. They can bring guys in. Man, I've walked into games, Griner, and said, please, I've prayed to God. You should have heard my prayers, Griner, driving up at Hopewell, going to play Mallet Creek back in the Big Creek days with Trent Simpson out there and 6 healthy offensive linemen. Please, Lord God, please, if he touches my quarterback, tell him to grab the flag, don't hit him. Just pray. Just stop it. As soon as he tags him, it's over. I would love those protections. But on a more serious note, I do think, and we talk about this with officiating, I do think there needs to be a little bit more in the way of protecting some of these guys. I can't go as far and be serious on this platform to say that they should be as bad as the NFL has done. And the NFL's already come out and said, we suck. Let's review this. There should be a little more protection around the quarterback at the high school arena, though.
Yeah, it's just how broad this is. Like you said, I agree with you because there does need to be more protection. I mean, shoot. I've had more issues than you have. Like, we'd be direct snapping to running backs if we go down with quarterbacks and stuff. So I've been there before, trust me. But yeah, we got to start doing a better job overall in every bit of officiating, but those guys only have 5 officials. It's very difficult. We're going to start paying these guys more. I've always told people, you want better things to done right, just make it a competition, make it better pay. Pay officials $200 and something a game. There'll be a lot more people signing up to do that, and you'll get better and better people to do it, no doubt.
I couldn't agree more, especially with that pay the officials better. I mean, we're about to lose officials. We lose officials, we're going to lose football. So I agree with you 100%, Sam. Well, hey, we're going to stick with you here on this final question here tonight. And coach versus coach, how much time should a new college coach, be given to build a successful program?
College coach is going to take 4 years because it's about recruiting. It's not like going into a high school and what you have is what you have. You're not recruiting necessarily. College is all based upon recruiting. It's not necessarily the football aspect. The recruiting overpowers everything else. It's the unique deal. NFL, you're doing a draft. It's more schematics, and then it's the draft. Everything's more even, okay? College is literally based upon what your school provides and how you're able to recruit those kids in to bond. It's the only thing like it. High school, you're given what you're given. Pros, there is a draft. There's a process through everything. College is a free-for-all. Like, why are the same teams good every single year? So you need to have at least 4 years to build and develop your own recruiting class. Yes.
I think he's right on that same time frame. I'd go 3 years. You have the incoming, class. A lot of times these guys are being fired. They're being fired sooner and sooner to match that December early signing period to kind of readjust that class to shape it into, to something that you would prefer. So I would say that 3 year period. Again, I think that each contract should be signed with a minimum of 3 years of placing this guy in position. I think that one, it makes sure that the boards of directors that are responsible for hiring these guys are ensuring that they're hiring people that are worth it. 2, it's making sure that one, these coaches are being fired. Everybody forgets that they're trying to provide for their families. Yes, they're making a good living here, but again, I don't want to interrupt anybody's income with just these guarantees. And then 3, just, again, you're hiring the right guy. You put him in the right spot. It gives that coach a little more security, so he's not out here being desperate and doing things to not, kind of doing things to cut corners for the short term, not building for the long term. So I think providing a minimum there of a time on a job can create that for a coach to where he's aware, I'm building this program, and these programs that are crippled by 1 and 2 year guys over years aren't sitting here having to worry about short-term fixes to long-term problems.
No doubt.
Well, that's it, man. Let's do it another week. Let's do it again next week.
Oh, you already know it.
Chris, you're not like declaring the winner. I miss when you used that little bell and you like say who's winning.
It got depressing for Grice. Grice is an amazing speaker, but when it comes to mano a mano, it's just, it was
listen to Grounders.
It's not a rivalry. It's not a rivalry.
I want to hear from the guy who scripts these questions. What's the answer to this question, Gary?
Is this the college one?
Yeah, the college one. How long should it take?
I think with the transfer portal, I think year 1, you come in and you see what you got. Year 2, you recruit around what you need. Year 3, you should start showing progress. Year 4, you need to have a winning season. It doesn't have to be a great winning season, but you need to be 500, 7-5. You need to be making progress.
Right.
By the time you get to year 5, if you're not winning consistently, then hey, it's time to move on. Colleges, they're making money like it's monopoly money now, especially at the Power 5 level.
What about if I go 2-22 my first 2 years, like Dante says? What happens then?
You're not gonna make it nowadays. You know,
Who went 2-22?
I just say you need that Jimmy Sexton. Dante's fun. We gotta get you on the show, Dante.
All right.
You're not gonna get that kind of time anymore. You're not gonna get that kind of time.
Yeah. Well, Gary does a great job of these questions every week. He scripts all this coach versus coach stuff. I don't do that.
Not the game show, obviously. Good Lord.
I'm going to do the game show.
I don't do the game show.
I'm going to do the game show next week.
Hey, who's the top 10 singer? I'm like, my Lord.
Sam, what do you want the questions to be?
This is what I want to be. I want sports questions only. If you're going to take on a coach, I
sports
want
questions
only.
They should be youth questions too.
Christian music.
All right, yeah. We'll have 2 youth questions and 3 sports questions.
Hey, Sam, why don't you be like Doc Holliday said? You want a spelling bee.
I wouldn't do very good there.
Cameron, you were making your point about the top teams in the state, and Dante thinks that Huff and Chambers and East Forsyth are clear top 3 with New Bern maybe out of the East. Who do you think Cameron's going to get to that championship game? Obviously, we don't know what the bracket is going to look like, but who do you think could get to the Western Conference Championship game?
Oh, that's a good one.
There's only 2 of those 3 can get there.
I know that's. I mean, I'll have to say Huff and Chambers. I think they're the most tested. They've got the highest strength of schedule. I mean, not taking away anything from East Forsyth, they could make it just as good as the other 2. I mean, anything can happen when 2 teams take the field, but I think come late November, it's Huff and Chambers.
I think last week, who was the gentleman we had on last week, Grace? Damon?
Come on, Adrian Miller, the guy.
No, the radio Johnson. Desmond. The point he made about having to go to East Forsyth and take that hour-and-a-half bus trip and play down there. That's a tough place to play, right?
Yeah, it really is. Again, I go back to that regional final game between them and Mallard Creek and the peak of Mallard Creek's 3-peat run. Yeah. And I think Mallard Creek had to escape on a botched 2-point conversion play by East Forsyth in double overtime to win that game. And that just goes to show you how strong this East team is at home. I've been seeing that team do really well for 10, 12 years now. And this just, again, seems to be one of those really senior-heavy teams. They got great fan support. And, that's just a tough little stadium, kind of back in there behind the school in the woods. It's just a little different back there.
Don't forget, back when Butler was winning, Butler had trouble with those East Forsyth teams.
Derek thinks it's foolish that the CMS team would lose. I mean, I think it's very possible. I mean, I think, we've been kind of spoiled with CMS being so good. But East Forsyth is good. They're tested. They got a great quarterback. They can do it running and passing. They're going to be a tough out. They got a really good defense.
I don't think anybody in the West is as good as the previous 2 advanced championship teams. I don't.
I agree with that. I think it's a little bit. It's different.
I don't. You know what? I don't know because Huff has the potential to be really good. I think you're shaking your head. No, Grace.
No.
That
I think
honestly,
that's
that
potential,
spring-
but they
that
haven't
spring-
been tested enough to do
That
it.
spring Vance Chambers team against Roseville was one of the most talented teams that I've seen. Like,
Oh, when they had
you
like
watch the
900
game,
yards,
that was the
they
huge
still won.
25 penalties. and
Yeah,
they
when
still
you
won.
get 15 penalties in the first half,
they had 200
and
yards.
still win by 3 touchdowns.
And then Chris sat right there and watched that. We was right there and watched.
But the thing is, I mean, you're forgetting. I think Hollywood Smothers, who is not playing this year, obviously. He is one of the better players that we've seen in a long time. Like, he was considered a better running back than the starting running back for Clemson right now.
Well, Chris says he's one of the best running backs he's ever seen.
Yeah.
So,
and Cam, I would love for you.
How
to
good would
that.
Chambers be if Hollywood had stayed at Chambers?
Cameron, why do you shake your head? Because I'd love to talk about that.
I mean, we don't have the time for it now, but I think Will Shipley was just really incredible.
Yeah.
No, Cameron thinks Will Shipley was better than Hollywood. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it's leaps and bounds.
Let's get something clear. Will Shipley is an amazing football player, one of the best I've ever seen. I'm telling you right now, Hollywood Smothers was different than anybody else we've seen in a long time. And I've coached the number one running back in the country at one time, and he was better than him. It wasn't even close.
He is more athletic, first of all. He's fast, more athletic. He has great field vision.
If Hollywood decided to play wide receiver, he would probably be one of the best wide receivers in the state as well.
The thing that impressed me.
Okay, one question.
Yeah,
he
will start at Oklahoma next year. He'll start.
Okay,
not right away. Not right
away. Better than what they have right now.
Hey, Alex,
right away. He's starting right now.
Apparently, he didn't see that game on Saturday.
That was Oklahoma.
Yes,
that was Oklahoma.
Yeah, he would start for them right now.
Getting beat by 49-0.
I can see him starting right away.
They got smoke.
All right, I got a question.
Play at least, like,
go ahead, Cam.
Why was Will Shipley like an 89 or 90 grade coming out of high school, number one all-purpose back, and then you got Smothers who's barely getting like an 82.
You got to get off the computers and watch the game.
I'm sorry, but these guys are paying a lot to go and watch.
You need a butt shot. You need a butt shot of the camera.
You can't be a camera guy. You can't be a computer guy. Listen,
but I don't care. These guys are paid a lot as analysts.
I have been
that's the problem right there. You got to watch the game. You got these guys who get paid to say certain things who, as Sam has said so eloquently for years on end, we talk about how college coaches get paid, this, that. These guys know no more football than Sam Griner does.
Well, I will say this
about Cam, how many times did you see Will play in high school? Actually stand on the field?
I mean, never stand on the field. That was before I was doing this.
I've had at least 8 games that I've been on the field watching them, not counting film. And I've had almost as many with Hollywood. And there's just I have seen backs from Joe McIntosh to I've seen a lot of great Andre Brown. I've seen lots of great backs. Zamir White. This kid is phenomenal.
Yeah, he is the new version of a back you're gonna see. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, we'd be close to undefeated with him, just him.
Yeah.
Okay. And I thought he did an honorable thing coming to West Charlotte and got penalized for it. That's neither here or there, but I'll talk about it one day if y'all want to. But it's just he is a special person, and he can change a game. Stevie Williams, talked to him, defensive line coach for Huff. All right. This guy says
Stevie Williams is to Sam what Nick Drew is to Alex. But
I love Stevie Williams. I think he's the best trench guy there is. Unbelievable. But what he said was, we could hold that guy for 20 to 30 yards on 9 carries. It's those other 2 carries that win the game. You cannot do nothing about it.
And I agree. And the only thing I say is watching how normal film or watching even from the side view doesn't do it justice. Being able to watch Hollywood, again, being at Mallard Creek, I've seen it on the sideline, being able to watch and actually see holes that are not there. And that kid find that hole.
Exactly.
And it gets tough, take it for 80. There was not a hole there. I'm talking to Chachi Sullivan after the game, and he said we had everything right. One guy takes one step to the right, and it's basically an 80-yard penalty and 6 points for my defense.
And he takes 2 steps back to find the hole. He takes 2 steps backwards.
Cam, and I think the difference in bridging that gap from Will Shipley is a phenomenal player. He's more of a cool, hey, I'm going to catch the ball. I run great routes. I've seen him, whether it's 7-on-7, whether it's tackle. He is a great student of the game. He's a phenomenal player. But I think the thing with Hollywood is that he could turn at just a little gap and just take that 80 and go away from everybody. And
he makes other.
I mean, I've seen Will do that too, but. You know,
you saw Will do it versus 3A people most of the time. I'm trying to tell you, Will is a great player. I'm not taking anything. Will's criticized me and came out here and proved on this show, like, no. He's one of the best.
Well, y'all were 3A.
He started as a freshman.
Exactly, but we play a 4A schedule, brother.
I get that.
Sam had the #1 rated running back in the nation on his team.
Rated player.
He's better than him.
#1 rated player.
Yeah.
The recruiting coach from Notre Dame that spring practice when he came, Sam, if you remember, over at Harding. And I sat there and talked with him, and he told me that he was the running back coach at Notre Dame. And he told me that I was curious, could this kid play running back in college? I think he's too tall. And he said, we don't care. He said that I've not seen a kid with that kind of athletic ability and that size at a running back. I love him. Now, this is the kind of running back that Sam had. And to hear him say this about Hollywood the
one thing I say about Sam is Sam was talking about Drake May before anybody was talking about Drake May and said he was going to be phenomenal.
Okay, Sam's supposed to get that back.
And Drake May is going to be up for the Heisman next year. So I can't go against what Sam is saying. I think they're both great players, Cam. I love Will.
He's stroking Sam right now.
Hollywood's an Alvin Kamara kind of player to me.
Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush. Yeah, he's different. Will Shipley's great. Hollywood's different. That's about
I think that's a perfect explanation. That is perfect.
But with all of that said, it's 9:55. We're like blown out of the water heavy.
Yeah, sorry.
So
final word.
I'm going. Go ahead, Cameron. You can find a word, Cameron. If I get
I'm not.
I'll give him the final word.
If Dylan watches this show, I'm not saying you're a bad runner back, dude. I hope you go out there and break all the records. DeMarco Murray, Adrian Peterson, go kill it, dude. But
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, for what I saw in high school, I just think Will's a little bit better.
They're both great players. All right, it's time to put the big star in this one shot and give him his final word. Go ahead, Sam.
Well, I'm going to trump what he just said. Hollywood Smothers is the best back that I've ever seen in high school, and he is phenomenal, even though Will Shipley is amazing too. Will Shipley was great competitor. He's one of the greatest competitors I've ever seen. That means if you put him in any sport, he would be great at. I'm talking about pure running back. You'll see Smothers on the highest level one day. He'll be a top two round draft pick guy because of running back that it's worth. Now, Frontline Warrior, trying to get better at this. What I'm looking for is a Frontline Warrior, and I will do a better job each week getting better at this, hopefully, as the segment goes on. I'm looking for guys that can literally move another person against his will. It can be D-line, it can be offensive line. I want to see not a lot of pass block. You got to do that in the game. I want to see highlights of you moving another man against his will. That is what football is all about, the roots. That's what's winning the game, creating the curve for your offense or creating the curve for the defense. That's what we're looking for. That's what I want to see. Defensive lineman, if you ever have any clips of you actually moving an offensive lineman and putting it in the lap of the quarterback or a running back, I would love to see that. I'll talk about that. That's the greatest highlight you can have as a defensive lineman. Literally taking your guard, taking your tackle, and sitting them in the lap of a quarterback or a running back. I want to see that soon.
All right, well, there it is. I will say Will Shipley did win a state championship in lacrosse. He set a school record for the 55-meter dash in track. He was a state champion in track and a state championship, multiple state champion in football. So, so Will Shipley is not.
If you said who was a better competitor, like all-around athlete, I would say Will Shipley.
Will Shipley, absolute A1 stud.
But karate.
Hollywood did win Mr. Football as a sophomore.
As a sophomore.
That's all I got to say. Anyway, that's it. That's Sam Grinding, the football coach of West Charlotte. I'm Langston. That's Chris, the #1 voice of high school sports. Dale Ross, one of the longest followers of Charlotte Mecklenburg schools in history. Cameron Williams, the Golden Training, Gary Richmond, the contrarian number 2, and Jonathan Grice, the number 2 voice in high school football. Yeah, you the contrarian number 2. And Alex Bass, the contrarian number 1. And we are Talking Preps.